Good morning, Shavi. Good morning, everyone. How are we all today? Good morning, Ritika. Good morning, Ashik. So, how we are doing? How we are all doing today? Morning, sir. Students are still joining. What are we going to start? Actually, we started chapter number 1 yesterday, now the accounting for management. Most students are joining. So let's revise till the time students join. As we know, it normally takes 5 minutes for everyone to start. Yes. All fine, all good, Ritika. Good morning, Aryan. Good morning, Davisha. Good morning, Yashvi. Good morning, Ravi. Good morning, Ji. And good morning, Angan. Good morning, Sujoy. So, management accounting, what we discussed yesterday. Namaskar, good morning. Good morning, Devansh. Yeah, Ashvi, that's what I'm about to do. Good morning, Vatsal. What we did, we started with the introduction of management accounting. We basically, went on discussing how management accounting is different from the financing accounting. Financing accounting is about, reporting to the shareholder, stakeholder as per regulatory requirement. Okay, to on the historic information. Management accounting is about management using this information to manage and make decisions about organization to achieve the organization goal. It is also about historic and future. There is no legal requirement. Management does it for their own sake. This was management accounting and financing accounting. Management accounting basically can have non-financial information. Financing accounting only has financial or monetary nature information. Okay. We looked at the categories, strategic, tactic, and operational. And if I remember, basically strategic is about top level, basically decision making. This is mostly focused on external factor. Today, we will be looking at the data, type of data, and there we will be discussing the internal data or external data. So here, basically strategic information are mostly external information because we look at the competitors information, market trends, government regulation, all this information coming from outside. Tactical information basically comes from inside and outside. It's a mixture of both supplier, customer. They try to, get the mostly their information from the internal organization and then external organization. Operational is for day to day. Basically, there the information comes entirely from the internal organization. And these were the three level of planning, basically planning of organization where they try to achieve organization goal, basically depending on their task and role. We also see the management accounting areas, let's say costing, money, planning. What is planning? Basically, we saw the long-term strategic plan, which is external, based on external information, based on achieving organization goal, agreeing a corporate level plan, basically done by the tactical management and tactical level. And then they try to basically implement all these strategies to achieve organization goal decided by the strategic organization or strategic level management. And then basically these are implemented for day-to-day operations by the operational level. Okay, so these were the three levels. And what else we discussed? I think these were some samples we took about the decision making. Those who have the online access, they can watch this video. But if you are Studying in the class, then what's the point if you don't understand, if you understand already? Now, this is the basically the third portion we about to start, data and information. So let's start it today. Okay, data and information. Today is 29th, no? 29th, 09, 2020. Just a second. So please explain the point of control once again. Please explain the point of control. Which control? Basically, Manvi. Control. Yeah, yes. So Manvi, basically what we were discussing in the control, we discussed that, let's say we have implemented a plan. Now, in order to, execute the plan successfully, we need to monitor whether plan is actualizing in the real world. Let's say we have a sale target of 10,000. We want to grow our revenue 5% for next 5 years. This is the target. Now, how do we make sure the target is achieved? By monitoring it, by making sure if it is deviating from the target. Let's say our current year sale target is 1 crore, but right now we have only made 25 lakh sales, and this is half year past. That means something is going wrong. So what strategies we need to implement to making this 25 lakh to 1 crore by the end of the year? So if we can see the deviation in the plan, that means we have to take actions. So control is when we see a difference, when we see a deficiency in the plan, we try to take action according to it. That is basically monitoring and controlling the performance. Clear, Manvi? Okay. So now after understanding the management accounting, let's go and understand the data and information. What is data and what is information? Good morning. So what is data? Data is basically nothing but raw material, or basically the information, or sorry, basically the facts or events. Anything that is just fact and event. Let's say date of birth, let's say a calendar month, let's say a event. So let's say if somebody's roll number, these are datas. These are not information. Information basically collection of data when basically we put together and derive some insight from it. That is information. Let's say we have 10 students, and just giving them roll number is just data. But now giving their marks and basically their historic performance, and then giving an insight basically how good a person is performing in terms of their marks, basically their curriculum will give them some insight. So data is just a raw form where you can just know about a data. Let's say data of any transaction, data of, let's say, any match. That is just data. But what insight you derive from it, that is information. So data relates to facts or events or transaction. Information, basically data that has been processed. In order to make a meaningful insight, to the person who receives this data, we basically call it information. Information, anything that is communicated, like I am communicating information to you. You can see that this chapter is given. This chapter can be a data. But when we read it and interpret it, this basically becomes an information. We passing on information, processing the information. So in order to make data into information, we need to process it. Okay. So information data that has been processed in some way to make it meaningful to the person who receives it. Information is sometimes referred to as processed data. Okay. Information and data are often used interchangeably, but again, data makes the information. So information comes from the data. It is important to understand the difference between these two. Researchers who conduct market research survey might ask members of the public to complete questionnaire about a product or service. The completed questionnaire are data. Then basically, if you have the data, you are now going to derive the information from it. So after processing and analyzing, prepare a report on the survey. Let's say, what is the traffic level into one road? How many cars are there? This is just a data. But whether to take the decision of driving on that road or taking a different route is an information, because you process that information. Okay. This is basically the activity. I don't know why they have given this here, but basically when we would be discussing data in detail, that it should have been here. So this is external information. Like I said, these three levels basically represent the type of information they use. Strategic level always use external, mostly external information, because competitors market trend is one of the major thing they look after. They also look after government, regulations, government initiatives. Basically, they read lot of newspaper. If you just think about it in a simple term, tactic people are people who are mostly taking internal data information, let's say MIS report, all this information, and then also taking supplier customer data, or basically something they can acquire. So their dependency on external data is lesser than the strategical, and their main dependency is on the internal. Operational data is basically entirely internal because they are into day-to-day operations. So they only look after the internal data. So when we are looking at this activity, we'll be covering this data in more detail just in a moment. Which are the following? No, this is this question. Which external information might be managed? Which external information might the manager of business need? Let's say competitor, customer, supplier, or government. Manager of business need. Competitor, customer, supplier, or government. Which information? External information. Okay. Customer, supplier, competitor, government. Why not supply then? Competitors, okay. Wow, explain. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. This question was about, I was thinking this question was about select. So question is basically describing if you have a, sorry, my mistake. Competitor information, then what you will do, you'll basically see the prices, product specification. Because I was thinking, where is the selection option? Customer need and wants a product, price and need to pay. Supplier, product, prices, quality, supplies. Sometimes, even teachers make mistake. Okay. But I'm allowed to because I'm in class. Government, tax rate, minimum wages. Let me know if any point is not clear. Sorry. Census? Census is data. Anji. What you derive from the census is basically will become the information. Let's say you collected the data from household, that how many people are there, how many people are living. Now, when you create a report about it, then it becomes an information because report is conveying some processing, basically some insight about this data. So collection of information till the point it is not in the report, it is a data. The moment you create a report, let's say a census report, which you were referring, then it will become a information. Okay. Have any point here you want me to discuss or all clear? Okay. What is the quality of good information? Okay. What is the quality of good information? A good information, basically, this is yesterday's class. Add more. Let me know if it's visible. What is the quality of a good information? Quality of a good information. A good information is accurate. This is the spelling, accurate. So good information is accurate. What accurate means? That and information should be accurate, precise. Okay, it's a small mnemonic. Precise, not price. Precise, correct, right? Not biased. So information should be accurate, should be complete, not missing anything. Okay. If information is half, or another word is omitted, omission, then it is not a correct, it is not a good information. If information is cost beneficial means that cost is less than the benefit derived from the information. Yes or no? Cost is less than the benefit. That the money you spend to basically collect the information, you process it, the people that are inputted it. So the benefit arrived from it should be basically more than that. Let's say we have started a product series, and what is the response of the customer. For that we spend some cost on the surveys, we try to take customer feedback on that product. This will be not cost free. It will require you to employ some employees there, it will require you to provide some samples. So all this will include a cost, and what insights you basically brought from this. So whether this insight will be useful for you, whether you can launch the product and you will drive the benefit more than the cost, then definitely it is worth than the basically cost. So information should be more than its basically cost. Second, user target, that whom you are targeting the information for. Okay, that whom you are targeting this information for. Are you targeting for one person or are you targeting for multiple individuals? So this information must be user target. Basically, what is your audience? What is your audience, whether this information serve those audience or not. It is very important to understand. The volume of the information is kept to minimum needed for the customer. We don't need the excess information, we don't need the minimum information, only as per the requirement of the user. What is our user? It is customer. Let's say what if the information is for employees. So what are our user target? Info must be relevant. What relevant means is not interested in transaction that occurred for entire bank. Therefore, only information relating to the user. So here they have taken the example of banking. Let's say relevant. What relevant means that let's say I have opened an account in bank. So what I want from the bank, this information that I get basically should be relevant to me. I'm not interested in other parties' transaction. I'm interested in my transaction only. So relevant. Or let's say this, instead of this example, let's take a manager example. That manager wants to take a decision about whether to continue the product or not. Okay, if you start telling them, okay, what would be the advertising cost if you continue the cost, at that time it will be irrelevant for the manager. Right now they are more interested in the information about continuing or discontinuing, whether the profitability or not. How much, where is the market where you will be advertising that product, it is irrelevant right now because it is not relevant as per the context. Okay. Second, authoritative. Authoritative point. Okay, let's see what the authoritative point here says. The information within the bank statement can be used. Okay. This is for control purpose. Control purpose. What it's saying, that the information should be reliable source and could be used for control purposes. Okay, unreliable source should not be, basically unreliable source information cannot be used for control purposes. It should be from a genuine. Let's say I today go on internet and then I search an information. There can be any person who can post this information on internet, so it will not be reliable. But let's say if I take this information from any government side, then it becomes authentic. I can use this and I can, use this information to impose on others, right? So authoritative. Timely, again, one of the most important content of the information, that it should be timely. And old information may not be useful. However, sometimes when we are studying data, then old information can be useful. But if we are about to make a decision, for that decision, information should be received the time we are making decision, not before, not after. And finally, the easy to use. That information should be easy to use, that in a format that people can understand. Example, I was actually yesterday looking at how this cinematography works. So I was basically, somebody pointed out that right now we look at this information. Let's say we are looking up PPT, we are looking at our screen colors, but in computer language this is just 0 and 1. This is basically at the bottom level, it's just a binary code. There's a level basically which is called assembly line, and then there is a high level language. But right now, the way we use this information, we are just looking at the very simple, easy to use format. Let's say Chat GPT or any AI tool. What they are doing, they are basically making using this information very easy to done. Otherwise, it used to be a case where we have to research it ourselves, right? So compilation of data, very easy to use. Let's say one of the very famous saying is, "A genius is one who can make complex information into easy to use format." A genius is not one who can make complex things, but a complex thing into a easy to use one. That is a genius. So information should always be easy to use as per the user. Okay. So this is basically your accurate information. So this is your good information. Now let's take up one question. Which two of the following are good information characteristics? Monthly sale figure for August received in November. Summary provided at front of a report to save senior manager from having to read the whole document. A dashboard report summarizing all key results for the last period for use at the next managing meeting. A monthly report showing that the chocolate, a monthly report showing that the chocolate mixing machine was adding 1% much coca in the last period. So which do you think is basically good information? So everybody is saying 2 and 3. So I hope you were able to identify that this monthly sale was received for August month, but it was received in the month of November, not even in September, but in October. This was received late. This information basically providing a summary is quick to access. That means it is complete as well as accurate and relevant, because manager doesn't need to go through the entire document. He needs the relevant information here. A dashboard report summarizing all key fees sum result for the last period for use at the next management meeting, and monthly report showing that chocolate mixing machine was adding 1% too much coca in the last period. Okay, let's select these two. Monthly sale figure for the August are too late and therefore timely. A monthly report showing that mixing machine was adding 1% too much coca in the last period is not complete. Management would need to know how this compared to the other months where there was a tolerance level. Okay. Clear one? What is this in the essential rating? So there is an essential rating. Let's see what there are. Accounting for management. Chapter number 1 is essential rating. Strategic information, internal, external, high level. Okay, we have already covered this. Let me know if you want me to cover anything in the essential rating, but we have already covered this. No. Essential reading is basically additional part. I don't know why BPP does this. Earlier I understand what used to happen. BPP have segmented this essential reading in the online study and this rest of the chapter in the physical book. But now when they have merged this essential reading and the physical book in one physical book only, so why they are now separating it? It should be part of the chapter, because many students skip this essential reading. This essential reading, the word start with essential. So you cannot skip this. So even in your BPP book, if you have any BPP book, then you will have to read the essential reading. Please, if you have Kaplan book, then you don't need to worry. And if you are using StudyUp, then very good. It's not a challenge. So any question about basically this strategic information, tactical information, or operational, do let me know. Ad hoc, Sania, means unplanned, something that was not planned and came, basically without, informing, without any prior information. Let's say I'm doing my routine task of selling customer. Suddenly, a customer came to me and raised a complaint. We were not planning a customer complaint. So this customer coming suddenly without any prior information, without any planning is basically ad hoc. Ad hoc, basically, you can say as required, whenever required. Question, Lapti. What was the question? Okay. Question basically asked you to explain what is a good information. Like what are the characteristics? We just saw the characteristics of good information and that it has to be accurate, complete, cost beneficial, user target. So this question actually tested, okay, whether we are able to identify this good information. Here you can see that the month of August month report for the sale was received in the month of November. August, September, October. There are 3 months before November. and we received the August month report in the month of November, not in the month of October, not even in the month of September. So we were late by 2 months. So it's a late report. So it was not on timely basis. This was defeating the good information characteristic. So it was not a good information. Second, summary report provided at the front report to senior manager. Basically, senior manager had to go through the entire document to understand, but they provided the summary. So it basically become relevant and as per the user target. Okay. Yeah, I'm just coming. Sanya, on the authoritative. Finally, dashboard also basically doing the same thing. They are providing all the key results for the last period for the management to use. So again, user target related and basically relevant. Okay. Finally, monthly report showing the chocolate mixing machine was adding 1% much cocoa in the last period. This information had one problem, that this information was not complete. Why? Because what do you mean by 1% much cocoa? What was the last period, cocoa included? So do we know the actual level that we are supposed to include and what is basically the current level of tolerance? So this is where the information is incomplete. So it is not meeting the complete requirement. Okay. Technical information. Okay, Ashik, I'll just come. Authoritative point, Sania. Authoritative point is that, let's say, if I go on internet and I use any information that is basically, I can go and search about income tax rate. People can, tell me what is the current income tax rate in the country. Let's say if you study a topic of, any of the book given in here. So many people might have, written those articles. Let's say I have written those articles. Somebody else has written those articles. So who should you rely? You should rely articles given on ACCA website, technical articles, if you remember, because these are approved, reviewed by some ACCA members. So you can rely on those information. If you just study information from anywhere and you don't know the source, then in that case, this information may not be reliable much. One of the criticism of these AI tools is that they can create hallucinations. Hallucinations are that they sometimes create some information that may not be reliable. So you cannot depend on those information. So in this case, this information is not authoritative, not reliable. Okay, I think this was your question, Sanya. Clear? Authoritative means basically me using bank statement. Basically, this statement coming from bank is basically show the authority of this information, that it is a reliable information. Okay, Sania? Okay. Tactical information, Ashik asked me. Accounting for management. Tactical information. So tactical information, basically middle level management, whatever strategy decided by the strategical management, now middle level management target is to achieve those strategy. What would be the strategy that is defined by the top level? But then how to achieve those strategy, this is decided by the tactical information. These are basically MBAs who have, worked to get the things going smoothly. Basically, they are focused on what resources, whether we have sufficient resources or not, whether we have basically sufficient skilled people or not. So hiring people, giving them targets. This is the basically task of the tactical information based on the strategy decided by the top level. Let's say 5% sale increase example by the strategic department for next 5 years. So what will happen? The tactical information department will try to study the customer market. They will try to see, okay, what is competitor doing right now and what basically improvement we can do. We can take customer feedback. All these are basically middle level management activities. Now, based on this, middle level management will give targets to the operational level. So what middle level management will do? They'll primarily generate internally generated information. They'll summarize to the lower level. It is relevant for short and medium term. Why? Because they are planning to implement the strategy for this year or maybe next year max. But the long-term perspective is done by the strategical department. They try to analyze activity and department. Let's say they use management information system, MIS report. So whatever transaction has come up, they basically compile this information and see whether there is any variances for the target set, and they try to do it on routinely or regularly basis, and they are based on quantitative measures. Quantitative measures, let's say we will learn in the standard costing or total quality management that are coming there. So they try to see the key performance indicator for the day-to-day operations. These are the work of the tactical information. Basically, they are the guider for the operational information, and they are the one who implement the strategies decided by the strategical department. Okay, clear one? This budgetary control, variance analysis, productivity measures, don't worry, we will be covering them as the syllabus goes on. Right now, we are just studying the data. Ashik, this was your query clear now? User target point means, Shivang, that information should be user related. That the information, let's say we just saw the example, huh? No, sorry, let me clarify. User target basically, we just took the example now where information is read by the manager. So it should be on summary basis, not a detailed document. If manager need the detailed document, then they will look for that relevant information when needed. But mostly they will look for the summary, the detailed summarized form. Okay, that is the target of the user. But if let's say it's done by at analyst level, so analysts don't need the summary, they need the detailed information. So as per the user, the information should be as per the user target. Ad hoc basis, Labdi, means that it is basically required. Let's say today a task come and I do that task as because it is urgent. So it is ad hoc basis requirement that suddenly it was not a planned requirement, but we had to do it. And this is basically ad hoc. Ad hoc, this is what are we use in the office and normal term, that this is an ad hoc work, this is a planned work. So whatever is the routine work, we will do it. If something is ad hoc and urgent, so we do it on priority basis. Okay, Lavdi, let's say we are sending a report, but suddenly a mail comes from our boss. So this mail, which was not planned, is an ad hoc work, which we have to do. Okay, Lavdi? Clear? Everyone? Lavdi, clear now? This was your query. Where what you are saying, Sabri, in strategic, it is written that information get from external and internal, but they only get external, right or not? No. Sabri, basically, if you remember, we have studied business and technology, right? Here in business and technology, we learned about EIS, executive information system. In executive information system, this is a tablet where they see the overall sale, let's say 5 million sale in India, 10 million sale in Australia, like this. They use this 10 million, not in go into digits. So this 10 million number is coming from the organization within itself. So what happens, the strategic information, they use internal information and they also use the external information. They don't rely on one information. They use internal and external. More dependencies on external because they need to compare the data with their competitor, market trend. They need to compare it, what the technologies are happening right now. So they use external information so much, but at the same time, they use the internal information as well. Clear, Sabrit? Okay, so this was your chapter number 1. We are through. Now we are going for the chapter number 2. So chapter number 1 is done. Oh, sorry, one point is left. Limitation of information for decision making. All decision making is concerned with the future, and so there will always be some degree of uncertainty. Okay, there are two factors to information. Let me just write that. Today is 29, 29 September 20. All decision when we make about future, there are two aspects to the future decisions. One is risk and one is uncertainty. Okay, what is uncertainty? That you cannot calculate it mathematically. Mathematically, it cannot be calculated. Risk can be calculated. Okay, how does it make difference? Let's say your sale target is 1 lakh. This is your sale target. Now, whether you achieve this sale target, let's say 60,000, or you achieve, let's say 1,20,000. So it can basically vary from your plan. This actual result may vary from your plan. Now, if you see this, that what is the chances of you basically getting this 60,000, let's say 80%, or what is the chances of you getting 1,20,000 is 20%. So what would be the average target? Let's say 80% multiplied by 60,000, this would become 48,000, and 20% divided by this is 24,000. So average basically probability is 50 to 72,000. This is the expected basically sale you will make. Now, how did I calculate it? I use the probability and I calculated the risk. That based on the plan, the expected result would be 72,000. This much how it can vary. Okay, average what we are assuming here. But in uncertainty, let's say we plan for 1 lakh sale, but the sale suddenly becomes zero. Why? Because we don't know the factors which we did not plan. Let's say we didn't plan the COVID. We didn't plan the COVID. So these are uncertain factors which we didn't know. Okay, so when we try to predict for the future, we take the risk into account that there is a possibility of this happening, there is a possibility of this happening. These are all known basically factors which can happen. That customer might not like our product, something might basically may not work according to our plan. That is estimated risk. But when we talk about uncertainty, we don't know how much uncertainty is there in the market. And that is the true nature of the business. You don't know things that are not in your control. Let's say I'm growing rice in India, okay, and suddenly my rice price going high. Why? Because one of the importer in India for rice is Spain. And what happened in Spain? That there was a flood. Now, can you be a trader and sit in India and think about that something will happen in Spain and this will impact you? This was certain uncertain event which you did not plan. So this is how uncertain business is. And there is always some uncertainty. So when we are making decision, we have to consider that there will be uncertainty that we will not be able to control. So information for decision making should therefore incorporate uncertainty in some ways. Okay. Methods of incorporating uncertainty are outside the scope of this syllabus because this will something you will learn in the performance management, that how to incorporate uncertainty. But you should realize the cost of accounting information does not take account of the uncertainty. It is unsuitable for decision making. If an attempt to incorporate uncertainty is made, the information should be more suitable for decision making, but can never be risk free. Because risk, we have understood that risk is based on calculations, and we have to consider the other factors. But uncertainty is something that will always be out of the cost accounting. Okay, this is about the uncertainty factor. Can you think of any factor which contribute to uncertainty of an organization might face? Like I have given example of COVID. What are the factor you can think? Fire. So basically a disaster. Any other thing? Let's say technological change. Technological basically suddenly change in the market. Government policy. Good. So there can be other factors: action of competitor, inflation, rate of interest, new government legislation, possible shortages of material, and possible industrial disputes. Yeah, suddenly change of culture, right? Change in trend. So this is your chapter number 1. There are some further question practice which we will do at the end of the class. Data, chapter number 2. So far good? Data and processing. You know, the management accounting will start from chapter number 3 and chapter number 6. If I show you what we are doing right now, we are just reading the right now what we are doing, we are just analyzing the data. Accounting for management was introduction. This will be data, and these 2 chapters will be data. A lot of mathematical calculation will come. We'll get a little bit of introduction to cost accounting, and then from chapter number 6, we'll start our main accounting. So just to let you know, in case anybody is wondering, where the cost of material and labor and overhead. Okay. Huh? They will give you the format. You have to fill in the information. Let's just like financial accounting. No, table will already be there. You just have to fill in the information. Basically, if it is a 10-mark question, then in the entire 10-mark question, you will be given in basically, let's say a table is given, you have to fill those information. Or if it is a table given, then you have to fill the option by yourself. Sometimes it is a drill down, sometimes it is something you have to type. That is up to you. Up to the question, sorry. Yes, Ankit, if you have given the FA exam, in that case, yeah, Vani, this is in the notes. I share this regularly. Don't worry about it. Okay. So what my purpose was to show here, that chapter number 2, chapter number 4, chapter number 5, pure mathematics, pure statistics. So we will be going into the formula part. I will try my best to explain the logic of the formula. See, formula is nothing but a shortcut. that somebody was taking a long route and then they basically identified, that this could be done in a short way. This is a formula in simple sense. What formula does is basically easy to remember because we are talking about old times. In old times, there was no such, computer where we can store data. There was, paper, and those paper can be lost easily. So people drive this formula from taking a long route to a short route. This is just a formula. So we'll try to explore the logic behind the formula, that what basically formula is representing. Okay. I will try to, teach you Excel in the syllabus, though in BPP it is not covered, but in your ACCA study hub it is given. So it is my responsibility to teach you Excel as well. Okay. So let's read chapter number 2, 4, and 5, keeping in mind we are right now studying the data. Then chapter number 3 and chapter number 6 onwards, we'll be studying the costing. I hope this expectation is clear. I would recommend students who get any confusion here, do study their relevant chapter in Study Hub. Study Hub has given, beautifully the presentation of data, and I really like that Study Hub. And if you want, I can also incorporate in the class as well. So data and presenting information. What is data? We saw that there is a data, there is an information. Now let's understand the type of data. Okay, type of data. First, there is a primary data. What primary data is? That is basically specifically for a particular purpose, and that is collected by you. Okay. Now the line is one single line, but understand, if you are collecting the data, that means you know what is the purpose you will be using for, you know what is the source of that information, you know what will be the cost, whether it will be benefiting versus the cost, right? So if data is collected by you, you know multiple factors according to you, you can control the data. How do you collect the data? Everything. So primary data, clear? What is primary data? For a specific purpose collected by you. If it is not collected by you and it is, let's say somebody collected, let's say somebody has done the census. Census is a very good example where government does the census for multi-purpose. They does this information to provide this information to industries, to public. Now this information was collected by government. Now if I use this census information to study the customer market, so this will be a secondary data. It was for a different purpose, but I used it for my purpose and it was collected by somebody else. That is a secondary data. Clear one about primary data, secondary data. And again, secondary data is not collected by me, so I cannot control the secondary data. The source of the information, if not disclosed, I wouldn't know. So authoritative or reliability of the data would be questioned. So if it is taken by the government, then definitely reliability has improved. But if it is taken by an open organization, then definitely data quality, a word that is used in corporate, data quality issues can be there. Okay. Secondary data which has already been collected elsewhere. Okay. For some other purpose, but still can be used or adopted for survey being conducted. Okay. This can still be used. Basically, we can use it for our purpose. Now, this is the category that is given in BPP only, numeric and contract categories. So let's understand them one by one. I checked this in Study Hub, but this was not given in the Study Hub. So something additional to study, no worries. Numeric data, any data that is given in numbers. Okay, let's say it can be discrete or continuous. What is numeric data? Number of students sitting in the class. Let's say counting, temperature. These are data in numerics, numbers. We can understand those numbers. So this is numeric data. There are two categories of numeric data. One is discrete and one is continuous. Till time, any confusion about primary, secondary? Numeric data is basically data in numbers, simple. Salaries, basically marks obtained. These are numeric data, right? Now, discrete and continuous. What is discrete data and what is continuous? Anything that can be counted, basically, let's say, example would be the number of students in the class, or let's say, people, number of months in a year. So these something 1 to 3 to 12. This is something that is finite or countable. Now, you will understand discrete data once you understand continuous data. What is continuous data? That is measured. Let's say temperature, weight. These are something that is measured. Okay, these are not counting. You need to calculate it. So these are continuous data that basically changes constantly. And discrete data, which is finite, which is basically, let's say, number of students in the class, number of fruits, number of months. These are things we basically calculate. Number of vehicles. These are discrete data. Continuous data, when we start measuring the height of a person, weight of a person, temperature of the room, these are measured data, continuous data. Clear these two? It is measured rather than counted. And these are basically counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Discrete data is fixed and continuous data can be changed. Yes. Now, categorical data is basically the, oh, no, I remember why this way this will be used. This will be used in your big data. This is given in your chapter number 5. Yeah. Okay. Categorical data. Categorical data is basically data that is given in the text format. Let's say we write something on Instagram, any LinkedIn, or any social media post. That is basically not numeric. That is not in numbers. That is basically something we have written in text. Okay. Let's say I give you feedback. You basically tell me something about your experience. That is descriptive, right? Let's say if I talk about eye color, if I talk about age, if I talk about, let's say, satisfaction level, these are something that is not numeric, right? So categorical data, that is the descriptive rather than numeric. For example, age, education level, eye color, satisfaction, quality rating. Now, again, there are two categories, nominal and ordinal. What is nominal? Let's say there is no order. There is no order in the nominal data. Let's say you just tell apple, orange, basically anything. Okay, that has no set order. Let's say your eye color. Now, when basically this descriptive data will have order, let's say I tell you your education level. Right now, your schooling done, your college will be done. Then basically you will be passing ACCA. Then you will be getting a position. So you can see that there is an order here that we are talking about from one set to another set. Though this is descriptive, but we are just setting an order. This is a ordinal data. So nominal data that doesn't have order. We just tell basically, let's say the person's eye color, the fruit name, anything. And ordinal data basically that has us order. For example, level of satisfaction, that whether you satisfy yourself low or high. Again, a range of scale. Though it is not numeric, but again, it is in descriptive and an order set. So this is the nominal and ordinal data. Any confusion here? Ritika says my voice is breaking. Everyone, is this the issue you're facing? Anyone? Any point? Ritika, I explained and it was not clear. Primary nominal data. Nominal data basically just understand, in order to understand nominal data, who asked this question? Yeah, Manvi, in order to understand nominal data, just understand the ordinal data. We give any descriptive information and we give them in order. Let's say educational level, satisfaction level, your basically, let's say 1 to 10, what would be the rating you would give? This is basically a descriptive understanding, not a number, right? But this is in order. So our nominal data would be, let's say, talking about random things that has no order. Okay, if I talk about different colors, blue, red, white, yellow, there is no order to it. They just basically, these are random things that I have just told. This is the nominal data and ordinal data where you put an order to it. Okay, Manvi? Okay. Discrete is basically to understand the discrete, Ritika, you need to understand continuous. Continuous data where we measure things. Let's say temperature, height, weight. We try to understand the heat in a basically room. What is the temperature of the room? Or let's say something other than numeric, other than temperature, room height. Yeah, these are the things that we basically normally count in the continuous data. In discrete data, we are just counting numbers. Let's say there are 10 students right now. There are basically 7 wonders in the world. So these are discrete data, countable. Okay, Ritika? Now, coming to the main point that basically will be discussed throughout this chapter, sample data and population data. What is sample data? Nominal data basically is a descriptive summary. Again, in order to understand nominal data, just understand ordinal data. Nominal data is just, let's say, me telling you multiple things in descriptive format, good, bad, good taste, bad taste, or let's say brand names, Mercedes, Maruti. These are the information I just passed. Okay, this is not numeric. Okay, this is randomly. There is no order to it. But in ordinal data, let's say if I talk about from basically medium cars to a high-end cars, from a affordable cars to a luxury car. Now you can see the order I'm going. I first tell the, let's say Maruti, then I will tell basically, let's say a brand name Tata, and then I will tell, let's say a brand name, let's say Jaguar, Land Rover, or let's say the Ferrari. So I'm just escalating the information in a ascending order, descending order. That is basically the ordinal data. If I don't use any order, I just tell the multiple brands, that is just nominal data. Okay, Sabrit? Okay, so Joy has given the definition for sample data. Sabrit, clear now? Sample data and population data. Let's cover those. I think this is chapter number 1. No? Let's. No, you don't need these things, but again, yes. No, ordinal data is not measured. This is descriptive. If it was measurable, then it would have been continuous data, Manvi, right? Something that can be measured is numerics. Okay. This is chapter number 2. Now, starting the main part of this basically chapter, sample data, and okay. What do you understand by sample? What is a sample data? So Joy has said sample data is randomly taken from a few count from population. So if there is a population, let's say of 100 people, and we selected, let's say 2 to 3 samples, then it will be basically 2 to 3 items. 2 to 3 items. So this 2 to 3 item will be called samples. That there is a larger population. Larger population means larger data set, a data set. And we have taken couple of items out of this. So this will create a sample. But by word you can understand it's a sample. So right now we will understand that if you remember your probability chapter, that if there are 6 balls in a box, you pick 1 ball. So what is the probability? So right now we are going to study the population and data set. This is one of the important aspects for your syllabus. And how do we select the sample? Do we select it randomly? Okay. Do we do it as systematic sample? Okay. This is also known as quasi-sampling. Quasi-sampling. Or do we do the non-random sampling? Do we do basically select, we decide which sample we will be taking. So this is what we are going to study right now. So what is a sample? Sample from a larger population or larger data set, 2 to 3 items, or let's say 5 to 10 items. Depending on our requirement, we select. Let's say we want to sell product. We want to sell product to customer. So what we do? We have, let's say, 1 million of customers. But in order to understand their mood, do we go and knock every customer door and ask them what is their feedback on a new product? Or out of these 1 million customers, should we study 2 to 3,000 customers and understand their mood? And if we understand the mood of these 2 to 3,000 people, we will be able to understand the million customers' views. Yes or no? Right? So this is what we are doing in sampling. When we have a larger population now, so in order to understand the idea of that larger population, we try to sample this on 2 to 3,000 data set. And then if we basically understand those 2 to 3,000 set, we will be able to crack the understanding of this million transaction. Let's say I have given this example in BT and FA classes multiple times, that if it is a AT&T company or Airtel company, Vodafone company, these are telecommunication company, they have millions of transactions, also not millions, they have billions of transactions in a single day, because their user are billions, they make calls, they receive data. So in one single day, they have a billions of transactions. So how do we verify that these transactions are correctly built? So what we will do, we'll check, let's say 1 lakh transaction, because the sample size is billion. So let's check 1 lakh transaction and see whether they are correctly input into the system. Their output is correctly matching. At these 1 lakh transaction, if inputted, they are generating correct invoicing or not. So that means this 1 million transaction are checked. So you can see just selecting a small sample, I was able to test a larger population. So this means the using of sample works in multiple basically spectrums, right? So we are able to use this sampling in multiple areas. So what is sample data? Sample data arising from an investigation of a sample. When we basically investigate a sample is selection from a larger population. Okay. Population data, basically the entire population, the data set. Data is a result of investigating the population. A population is a group of people, object, interest, anything. Data can be a larger size and we need to collect the data for a smaller size. So when we select a smaller size, that is a sample. When we talk about the entire population, that is basically the population data. Let's talk about Indian population. Every person living in India is a population. That is the whole set of data. If we want to understand what is the mood of Indian people, so we will take some states and then basically select their people randomly and ask about the feedback they have about the country, about their government, about their infrastructure. So we will get an idea about what people feel. We don't need to go and ask every person, right? This is basically the sampling and population data was. And this is how, you might have seen that election surveys or let's say student surveys, these are how these are evaluated. We don't ask each and everyone because you might think, okay, if these results are publishing about a student, then I was not asked. How can they be accurate? And their basically data is actually somewhat aligning with my interest. So how did they know? They didn't ask me. So this is how we use the sampling. Okay. So far clear everyone? Any doubt? No doubt? Okay. What are the key advantages and disadvantages of primary data? Okay, I told you about how we collect the primary data. We are the one who's controlling the primary data. Disadvantages could be the cost incurring for data that we have to interpret it and basically known source collection method, awareness of limitation, expensive to collect and consume. So any doubt about primary data? The first thing we discussed, primary, secondary. Okay, and the says no. Cool, no? Because Sujoy, we says that because data we are collecting, primary data is what we collect the data. Because we are collecting the data, so we know what is the source we are using, and according to the source, according to our requirement, we can increase the quality. So accuracy of data will be very high. Costly because if we are getting a feedback of customer, we need to employ employees there, not only in one location, in multiple locations, and then basically form samples, all this will be at a cost. So collecting data is always costly. What you can do, you can pay a fees to a surveyor and you can collect data from there, but again that would be a secondary data. And because this is a secondary data, you don't know the source reliability, you don't know the accuracy levels of join. So this is the difference between primary and secondary data. And this is similarly the benefit of primary data and its disadvantage. Okay, Sujay? Okay, please give a break after this. Have I overburdened you? Okay, do we need a break? Though it's early. If you want, we can take a break. No worries. Okay, we'll take, Ankit, we will take a break after 10 minutes. Okay. Information is going to come in lot, but it was just a starting. Source and cost of data. Now, what are the sources? We can collect data from machine or sensors. Let's say, you can see in Walmarts or, in the malls that when you are passing the info, basically product, they use a scanner. Let's say in chemist shop, they use a scanner or machines. Let's say, we are in a room. This room temperature has to be at your convenience level. So there would be a machine who's sensing the basically room temperature. So from the surrounding is basically taking the input. Okay, so machine sensor data, this data comes from the output of devices that detect from its surrounding. So machine sensors, you can see, there is let's say a room light. When you go in any building of any MNC company, you go in the room, suddenly the light appears, and when you go out, suddenly the light automatically shut down. Why? Because of the room sensor. You go in the washroom, there are tabs. If you put your hand into the tab, the water will automatically start because of the sensor. So these basically are, they are using the information surrounding your sensor, and this is basically machine robotics or machine learning. These are basically come under the machine learning, I believe. I don't remember exactly. Okay, transactional data, the data that basically an organization basically do on day-to-day basis. Transaction can be purchase, sale, your purchase order, sale order. It can be basically, let's say, coming from the supplier, customer, anywhere. So transition is what we do on day-to-day basis. Human social data, this is basically data from human and is often non-numerical because descriptive type. Okay, data sometimes include data about social media users such as location. Human social data can be more difficult data to analyze. And there is a reason. Because in categorical data, we understood that data is descriptive. Sometimes it's pictorial. Sometimes there are pictures. Sometimes there are videos. You need to teach a machine how to make that pictorial or video into numeric information so that machine can learn from it. Machine can, process this because machine ultimately understands 0 to 1. How are you going to make machine learn about, because for machine, we see the complete picture or basically overall picture, but the video or photo we see, these are in pixels. So every pixel has a number. So machine will be reading this color in the numbers, and just think about the entire video, how machine will learn this. So this is something that is very difficult to process, or I would say more expensive to process. First of all, you have to teach the machine about, color pixels, the numbers that it has. Definitely technology is already there. Now, when these pixels come up, and let's say it makes a human face, makes a bag, I hope you have seen this, technology where if you show the phone, the machine will tell that this is a phone. If you show it mouse, it will tell you this is a computer mouse. If you show it a meme, it will tell you that it is a meme and what meme this is. This is how advanced has become. If you break it down, how this has basically broken down. First of all, machine understands 0 to 1. From 0 to 1, let me just show you. What will happen? What will happen? Machine only understands 0 to 1, which is binary language, which we all know, right? Binary code language that machine understands. This is the starting language. Now, what will happen if we show an image? If we show an image, so machine will break it down into pixels. Pixels. Okay, this pixel will have a number. Okay, machine can learn this number because machine knows 0 1. So let's say there is a 23. So in machinery language, this 0 23 will be 0 0 1 1 1 0. Okay, machine can read this. Now what do you have to do? You have to make your machine or computer train in such a way that this entire image will have thousands or millions of pixels. So one pixel will have these millions of pixels, and these millions of pixels will have millions of numbers and billions of numbers, and you are able to code them. So you have to train your machine in such a way that once an image comes, so it can, interpret it in this format and basically understand what this image is representing. And this is what, complexity of AI is. You have to have a very, very large server. It's not a very small server. It's very, very large server. Recently, a report came that in order to, generate a small response in AI, you need to, use 3 buckets of water, because the processing that goes in understanding that response, processing an image, that takes a tons of energy, tons of electricity, and that basically they basically analyze that in order to just respond a simple prompt to AI, it will take at least 3 buckets of water. So this is how complex things are, and this is what it is talking about, that when we interpret images, when we interpret descriptive data about human social data, In reality, the machine is only processing it in numbers. But in order to, clear, if you have done, machine learning, a little bit of, binary coding, you understand that binary code has a layer of basically assembling line. And this assembling line then later comes on high level language. And what high level language basically has come to be GPT, generative processing transformation language, where we just use in the English text, and this English text turned into high language, basically X is equal to 1, and thus this turned into, let's say, some coding, which you basically might have heard. This high level language is Python, C++. This is high level language, very easy to use. Even you can read it with basic understanding. But this assembling is very, very tough coding. It was a time of 1990s when this used to happen. And this is a binary code. I mean, this was done during 1950s. It was impossible to read. And, it was some person who was genius, who, understood that how to put these 011 into this assembly language. And then basically things change for better. So the purpose of this is to show you that why this is complex about human and social data to interpret. Because for us, it is easy. We are able to interpret this descriptive data. We are able to understand colors. But for computer, it will always be number at the bottom end. Though we don't understand those numbers, we basically think, okay, man, now computer can read the color. Computer cannot read the color. Computer still doesn't know the color. All it does is basically understand those colors in the terms of number. Okay, clear? And that will require huge cost, huge interpretation, and number of scientists who can, make this data possible reading. So enough with this extra gyan. No, when I, unnecessarily tell you a lot of things. So machine sensor, what are the example? Let's say wearable watches, fitness tracker. Right now I'm wearing a fitness tracker watch, smartphones, temperature sensor. These are machine sensor that, looks at the surrounding. I just click or I just look at my phone and suddenly the screen automatically pops up without even me touching the phone. This is how the sensor works. Sensor basically look at my face and then suddenly realizes. For that, camera has to be on all the time. Transactional, basically sale, purchase, order, return, human social customer queries, hand return letters. There is a technology. If I, type, I just type or just, write in my own handwriting, it will convert into the text. You can see the wonders that Google Lens can do. You just scan something from Google Lens and you can search it on internet instantly. This is how powerful this is. So we have come this way. So these are the three sources of data, and now the cost about it. Again, there is a cost, basically sensing, transactional, human. These are good, but again, cost will be there. Supermarket that offer a delivery service often have a location tracking sensor in their lorries. They can be used to track delivery status and basically whether shopping has been delivered on time. Basically, what they are taking, and a good example would be Amazon tracking its delivery truck, where it is right now, whether it has been delivered or not. Very simple. So they are using satellites, sometimes the sensors. Sometimes you buy something from mall, they keep their tag. These tags are called RFID tags. We will learn those. So RFID tag, if you take any pant, shirt, any item and you go without purchase, without buying it officially, then suddenly alarm will ring, because RFID tag is attached in that product and you cannot remove it basically without damaging it. The moment you damage, then again alarm will ring. So these RFID tags basically help supermarkets, malls to monitor their inventory, right? Now, internal source, okay, these are given in one line, very bad. This is a very important information. What are the internal source? Financial accounting records, payroll, how much payment we make to us, basically what is the salary of employees, how much payment we make, human resources information, basically their Aadhaar card, PAN card, their appointment letter, their joining date, what is their experience, etc., etc. Production information, your production line, basically from raw material to finished good, all the details, what is the costing, timesheet, basically employees entering, employee executing, public accounts, basically published accounts, basically financial reports and historical records, what we have recorded. So any confusion on any internal source of data that you don't understand, you want me to discuss? Anyone? Internal source of data? Process of compile and interpret it in computer. Yes, sure. But in internal source also not get easy. Internal source is not easy. No, we are not talking about easy or hard. We are talking about what is the internal source of information. These are internal source of information. So any confusion here? Krishna says payroll. Krishna, let's say I am going to pay my employees. If I'm going to pay my employees, I know their salary level. I know the cost that each employee, bears. Let's say higher management level will have a higher cost. Lower level management, or let's say juniors, will have a lower cost. I have given you example for your internship, right? If you join an internship, you will be paying a very small stipend, a very low salary, which is basically will be lesser than a regular employee. So because your cost will be lower, so it is much effective to get you do the majority of the clerical work, so that you will also get an exposure, but at the same time employee cost will reduce. Wherever there is a senior person who has a salary of 2 crore, 3 crore, so it's much better that they do the important task, because their cost will be much utilized. If they start processing the document, they are the ones who are writing, so they can do it, but it's not cost effective, Krishna. So we do understand the payroll, basically internal source of information, right? This help us in costing the products. Timesheet basically, Ritika, that okay, in factory what happens when an employee enters and when they exit, this is basically they note down the time, 8 a.m. starting and basically 5 p.m. closing. And in this time, whatever time they have entered, they will be paid according to their wages, because the factory workers are paid based on hours they have worked. So that's what their timesheet used basically is used. And because of the timesheet, we can also see how many hours are put into a product, right? Why publish account? Because publish accounts are published by you, Shivang. When I'm talking about publish account, it is financial statement, balance sheet, P&L, cash flow statement. This is in financial accounting. No? So we understand those financial statements are prepared by us. That's what publish account. Publish account doesn't mean the journals. Publish account by us. That is internal information. Shall we timesheet clear? And Shivang, you too, clear now? Okay. Now, what is the cost? Basically, direct capturing the cost, processing the cost, and indirect cost. Let's say direct capturing cost. Barcoding and scanner in manufacturing, we also see the normal retailer. They don't carry those barcode scanners because they are costly. OCR, optical characterized recognition, to capture data from printed documents. I can use a scanner. I can just print on the book and I can scan this using my basically scanner, or also Google Lens, which I was talking about earlier. ICR, intelligent character recognition. The thing I was talking about, that if I do the handwriting, then it will convert it into the text. That is ICR, intelligent characteristic recognition. These are technologies given, but again, this is how we do the direct data capture. And this will be the cost of using this technology. Okay, RFID, radio frequency identification, normally used in mall. So you can see these equipments are required to capture this data, and the cost will be to buy these equipments and implement them. Processing, payroll department spend time processing and analyze person cost. Let's say we have thousands of employees. Now we have to calculate each employee salary. We have to pay them a fee. We also have to deposit their pension or employment to the government. We also have to make sure that the TDS, the government tax, is also collected and deposited with the government. All this requires, let's say, at least 10 to 15 employees separately for payroll processing. So these 10 to 15 people salary and the compliance cost that you bear and pay fees to the government, all this is part of payroll cost. So just to pay payroll to the employees, you need to bear a lot of cost. This is basically the processing of the payroll. So definitely you will use this payroll to report in your P&L. You will use this payroll cost to bear how much pricing you will charge in your product. But again, this is a cost that you will bear. This is a processing. Time for personnel to input data, example relation to production into management information system. When an accountant inputs information, a factory worker puts information. So the way it generates an output, so the difference of inputting and outputting, that is the cost we are bearing. So this is a process cost. Basically, processing the data into information is a costly thing. It's not free of cost. You need to bear this cost. Collecting surveys is itself a costly thing. Now mass input, basically hiring someone to process this data into an insight, that is itself is costly. Indirect cost of information. Let's say you collected the information, you didn't need it, you were only looking for the information, and it happens when we do the surveys, we get information that we don't need, but we still collect it. So excess cost for those information stored long after it is needed. We just reserve this information for a longer period, though we could have scrapped it earlier and basically save the time. Basically, if you are, in corporate world, if you have utilized your hard disk, that means you have to bear that cost. In most of the time, the corporates basically employ cloud service. They keep their servers, and if their servers are full, in that case, they have to install new servers. So they want their servers to be down, basically have basically have some space storage. And if let's say this service is full at that time, processing cost is also happening. The electricity, because the higher storage will require higher electricity cost. So again, the storage cost of this information disseminated more widely than necessary, that you basically spend this information to people who are not required, again, which is again not required. You are unnecessarily spending over money. Collection of same information by more than one method. When you have the duplicate information, why you are spending the amount on the same information you already have? Or basically these are two similar points, that information you are spending same information and basically collecting from different methods. Basically only it can create the reliability of the information, but do we need the reliability in this case? That we have to check question. And duplication of information is again all these problems. So this was your type of information cost. Again, these are external, which we will discuss after the break. These are the external source of information: government journal, banks, trade journals, and finance newspaper. Their reliability and source will depend, and there is internet. So this will be external source of information. Okay, let's take a 10 minutes break and let's see. These are systems, Sanya. Systems. ICR is intelligent, basically, this is a scanner, intelligent characterized recognition. Right now, if I use a Google Lens and do the writing, it can convert it into a text. This is ICR. Okay, this is just a technology. We are on a break. Okay, this is just a technology. OCR is basically optical characteristic recognition. To you might have used CAM scanner, Sanya. Let's say sometimes you need to scan the document and send it in PDF. This is just a CAM scanner. Okay, OCR, you can see a CAM scanner app. Okay, so let's take a 10 minutes break and let's discuss remaining points. जानो मुझे क्या पता, कुछ लाना वहाँ का स्पेशल देखते हैं. हाँ जी, are we back? Yes. Vishal, you have been silent throughout. Anything? Like, are we able to understand things? I didn't see your message much. So, coming back here. Okay, we are here. But external source of information. So we understood the internal source of information. Let's understand the external source of information. Market research, interviewing people, postal questionnaires, basically creating a number of questions, people either responding in descriptive format, either yes or no format, primary external data, data from government such as statistics and indices. Right now, if I go on the Indian Railway site, I can extract data. I can go on the stock market, I can extract data. Okay, banks, newspapers, trade journals, reference manual, consultant, internet, library. We all understand this information of bureaus, secondary external data. So these are all data that is basically you can get any information from outside. Normally I get information from newspaper, YouTube channels, or basically you can get statistics data from stock market side and analyze 10 years price movement. If you want to do a study analysis of any price movement of any entity, go to stock market, download their data for price movement for let's say 5 year, 10 year, then do the Excel calculation. If you don't know Excel calculation, we will be learning linear regression in this class. Okay, not in this class specifically, but yeah, in the syllabus. So when we will be learning linear regression, how two variables depend on each other, then there you can utilize this. So whatever Excel we will learn here, try and carry forward this Excel in your FM and AFM. There you will get understanding of share market. Okay, how to do the technical analysis of shares if you are interested. But again, I'm not recommending for get into the trading. Governments, basically official statistics. This is specifically based on UK, that there is a ONS, official nation for statistics. The statistics published by government department may include retail prices. One of the criticism India has, that it doesn't have the organized data. That if we go and ask for government sites to provide us statistics data, so they don't provide much reliable statistics data. The way the surveys and the questionnaires are done at the US every now and then, these are done at much lesser or much lesser quality, and that is one of the criticisms, to understand data more. Sometimes the surveys that come in India, their quality is always good because of the reliability of the data. Bank data, the money supply, government borrowing, you can download this data from RBI side. In the US, you can download from the Federal Bank side. Trade journal, data on industry average, computer product. Sometimes to get a data, I remember I was in training. So one of the data we wanted to get, we were doing a transfer pricing study. Those who don't know, once they will learn the text, they will understand what is a transfer pricing study. So for that, we needed to compare our product with a competitor product. So we needed to buy the data. We needed to understand the average of the market. So it's not like you can create an average by yourself. You need to get the source of data. Let's say there are 50 companies. You study all those 50 companies' share prices and you compare the average. This is how you drive it. It's not so easy like it's look like. So sometimes we pay money for this. So I remember this one case where we were trying to get an industry average of oil company for selling the oil to the consumer. So for that particular average. So for that we were willing to pay money to a surveyor for that. Financial newspaper, detailed business data, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Singapore Business Times. These are some popular, basically Wall Street, journals of the world which you can read. Okay, just to get external information, just to let you know, all the top management read these newspapers to get an idea about this. So these are very, very reputed journals. Internet as a source. Now, this will be just giving you information about how internet information cannot be reliable always. Internet as a vast network. It uses a website www, which is World Wide Web. This can provide any type of information. Anybody can post an information there. This connects the millions of computers together. That is what network is. That is how internet connect the number of networks together. The problem is about the reliability. Because anybody can input information on the internet, the reliability and reputation is always important. If it is from a government side, it is from a reputed magazine side, it is good. But if it is from a normal, basically shady side, then definitely you can't rely on this. Okay, this was all about data. Farhan, which point you want me to discuss? Do let me know. We were just discussing the external source, government, bank, trade journal, and internet. So do let me know any confusion in point. There's no point in repeating it. We just discussed the external source. Nothing here. It's basically where you can get the information. Okay. Any confusion in any point? Do let me know. Okay, now let's cover some sampling methods. These methods are important, so please don't take them lightly. Sampling methods. Now let's say random sampling. Let's say there are 100 balls in a box. Okay. If I just, the box, I'm not looking at the box is covered with a blanket. I put my hand and basically pick up ball. So it will be random. I will not be basically looking at the basically balls. I'll just click one ball randomly. Let's say there is I have to select candidates. There are 100 candidates. What I do, there is a notebook with me. Can you just pass? No, you can pass me. Just for me. So what I will do, let's say there is a candidates. These are notebooks. What I will do, I will just note down this notebook and I'll just flip it like this. Just do this flipping and then select one number. This is random. So this is how you can use a random technique, basically either flipping a coin, but let's say every time you flip a coin, whether to go left or right, but basically it has to be random. It is not somebody's deciding it. It's basically based on some random. Let's say using a dice to select the number. So a random number. It has to be random. Okay, get the idea that out of 100 balls you pick one, that will be a random. That has to be random. So randomness means nobody using their consciousness. It's random. It is basically decided by luck. Okay, clear everyone about random sampling? So random sampling will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say data set is 100. So if we give them number, if they give them number, this is called sample framing. Sample, no, population frame. Just a second, no? Framing. Data is often collected from a sample rather than the population. We basically collect the data as a sample, not from the entire population. The whole population is examined. The survey is called census. So the whole population is sampled. This is called census. That is why we have a census every 10 years. So in India, we are about to have a census because we are collecting information for every individual. But if let's say we are talking about understanding somebody's mood, customer behavior, so we don't need to study entire population, just a small portion. So that will be a sample. Due to high cost and time-consuming nature of census, a sample is often used. That we know. It is therefore important that sample choose cover all areas, okay, of population, and should not be biased. Let's say we are supposed to understand a customer mood, and if we let's say randomly take one customer, and that customer already hated the company. So in that case, if that customer gives a feedback, that would not be a presentation of all the customers. So we have to understand that the sample we select represents the population. That sample we collect, this should represent the entire population. Okay, it should not be biased, not biased. What it means that let's say a resentful customer, resentful customer, that if you ask them about the feedback of the company, in that case they will only rant about it. They will only basically say bad things about the company. They will not basically be a third party with informed information, a third informed party, a third informed reasonable party, basically a person with reasonableness and who's fully informed. So they will not basically be able to represent. So if this customer will not be a good representation of the entire population of the customer we have. Okay, so that's why when we are taking sample, it has to be random. And random means that let's say if we take a feedback, so out of 10, average 7 to 8 people should give a good rating about the company. That means we are doing good here. So random sampling, simple random sample, a sample selected in such a way that every member in the population has equal chance. So when we are doing a random sample, so out of these 100 balls, any one ball can be selected. That is basically random sample. But each ball has equal chance. No cognitive decision by anyone. It's just that it is selected randomly. Any ball can be picked here. So there is no bias towards any one particular sample. If random sampling is used, it is necessary to construct a sampling frame. What is construct of sampling frame? This is sampling frame. What the sampling frame is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 200. What is the, let's say, green color ball, blue color ball, white color ball. This is basically the samples. Now these samples have been given numbers. So these number giving is called sampling frame. So if the population is limited, not very large, so you can do the sample framing first, giving the number and do the random sampling. Now you can clearly see the first problem in random sampling. But if the population is too large, sample framing cannot be done because giving the numbers to each and every population is very difficult. It is very time consuming. It can be very, very costly. So that's why a random sampling, when this is a large population, when the population is very large, so may not be effective or because it is too costly. It becomes too costly because sample framing will not be able to do. What is sample framing? Giving the numbers to the population. Clear everyone? 1, 2, 3, 4. Sampling framing is done. that we are basically giving numbers, a numbered list of all items in a population. We have to give them a number. So this is the main problem. Random numbers can be generated from computer program or book random numbers, like I just told you, which correspond to the chosen random number then from the sample. Drawbacks are basically selected items are subject to full range of variation inherent in the population. Sample may be unrepresentative, they can be biased. Sample may be scattered over a larger geographical area. Larger geographical area means that there is a country and they are basically spread across the country. So if I take one sample from one particular region, then maybe that region will not represent the other region, right? So we have to understand that random sampling has to be done in such a way, in such a systematic way that each region gets representation. That is called random systematic sampling or stratified sampling, which is coming in. An adequate sampling frame may not exist because if the population is too large, then in that case, adequate framing will not be there. Adequate sample framing will not be there. No enough numbering. Number of population may be laborious and expensive. So random sampling for a larger population is not. And again, if there are cluster, if there are stratification, in that case, random samplation will not work because it will not represent each region. Okay, what is stratification? What is region representation? Which we are going to just read. Okay. Full range of variation basically means that, Ritika, that any one sample can be selected. But ideally, this should not be drawback. Rather, this should be the advantage. The selected item are subject to full range of variation inherent in the population. But this should be the advantage because then you are basically giving an opportunity of equal selection. Selected items are subject to full range of variation. Or this shouldn't be full range of variation, then it's a drawback. Okay, leave this with me. Leave this with me. I'll check and confirm for you. Full range of variation, let's say if you're shuffling things and you're picking up then basically the sample you select will have a full range of variation. Then what's the problem here? It should be an advantage. Okay, I'll check and confirm this to you. Okay, for this point. Quasi-random sampling. I hope other than this point, all this thing is clear. Inherent sampling frame, random sampling, and random sampling drawbacks. Quasi-random sampling. What is quasi-random sampling? Quasi-random sampling is also known as systematic sampling, but okay, they have given random sampling, quasi-sampling or random sampling. So there is a systematic approach. What is systematic approach? That let's say we have 1,000 population. Okay, we have to select 1,000 population. Out of 1,000 population, what we will do, first number, we have to select, let's say 20 numbers. So how many basically, okay, interval. So we have to select 20 samples from this 1,000 population. What we will do, that first number will be selected randomly between 1 to 100. First sample will be selected between 1 to 100 randomly. And then after that, we will take an interval, a gap. Let's say 1,000 divided by 20, how much? Anyone? It's 150. 50. So let's say we select 49. First sample is selected randomly. How this 49? Dice roll, book roll, anything. You selected 49. Now next sample would be 99. Next sample would be 149. Next sample will be 199. Next sample will be 249. I hope you get the idea. Until we get 20 samples. Okay. This is called systematic sampling. That first sample is selected randomly, and then every nth number, every nth number. What is that nth number? This interval. Okay. Systematic sampling clear? Okay. Any confusion here? Then Manvi, this should be the benefit now for full range of variation. Okay, you are saying that full range of variation means that there are multiple people and that represents a different characteristics. And because of the large population, we may not be able to judge the characteristic of each people. That is what you are saying, Manvi. Oh. Is this what it is saying? Selected items are subject to full range of variation inherent in the population. This making sense. This is making sense. That if there is a population, larger population, then each population will represent their each characteristic. Just like each region will have their each point of view. So that is why they will have their own variation. So it's more of a region point. Okay, got it now. But now coming back, systematic sampling here, a sampling method which works by selecting every nth item after a random start, designed to give a good approximate of random sampling. The gap between every nth number is known as sampling interval. This is your sampling interval, the 50 item. How did I calculate it? The number of samples required. Let's say I decided 20 samples and I had a population of 20. So based on that, I arrived this at 50 number. 1000 divided by 20 is 50th interval. So interval size would be 50th. So for first 49, then 99, 49. So you can see I'm taking a gap of 50, 50, 50, and 50. This is the interval. Okay, and after that, I will be basically constantly taking this. So this is basically a more random approach that first population is selected, then every 5th person, every 10th person. Okay, now the problem is, let's say people are lined here. So every second person is basically, let's say this is a female, this is a male. So if I select this way, so let's say every third person I select in the population, then most likely it will be a biased sample. If the samples are not scattered enough correctly, in that case, it can be a bias. So the problem of this, systematic sampling is that samples should be distributed equally. Let's say majority of the population set in one particular location, let's say location A, and the remaining population, basically, let's say remaining population, which is let's say location B, have let's say 20%, this is 80%. And now in this location A, basically only one item is sitting. And in location B, there are basically, which is 20% remaining population, have basically mix of this. So if I select this location, I will get majorly the items that are sitting in location. I will not be getting 100% representation of this. So that is why this systematic sampling would fail here. Clear? That if particular region or particular group is sitting, particular items are sitting, let's say these are only red balls and these are 80%. And in this case, 20%, these are red and blue. Okay. Now, if I select any option here, whether randomly, systematically, in this case, it will only pick red balls. So it will not be a true representation that how many red or whites are there, right? So this is basically systematic sampling has one flaw in this. That it is easy to select samples, this is the advantage, reasonably random and provide there is no pattern or distribution of item. But the disadvantage, it requires sample frame numbering, just like the random sampling. It requires access to whole population. You need to have the access to whole population and not particular region or particular scattered department. Regular pattern of distribution of item sample may be biased. If there is a regular pattern, one person as a male, one person as a female, and I select every second item. So again, it can be a bias. It can be expensive to select a required number sample. Let's say we need to collect 20 samples out of 100 population. Again, it can be difficult to obtain all those 20 samples from the entire population. Second is stratified sampling. Stratified sampling is basically another version. Stratified, that let's say I divide the region north, south, east, and west. Let's say these are 500 people, these are 2000 people, these are 1000 people, and these are 200 people. Total will be 300,000, 3500. Oh no, let's make it even. Let's make it let's say 1500, and this is 500. Okay, somehow this is 2000, 4000, 5000. So 5000 is the total population. Now, how do I do it? If I need to select 100 samples, now what do? I will stratify. So what is this percentage of 5000? What is this percentage of 5000? What is this percentage? Can anyone tell me the percentage? Divide by 5000, divide by 5000, 5000. What would be the percentage of this, of the entire population? Let's say this is 10%, this is 20%, this is 40%, and this is 30%, right? This makes 100%. Now what I would do, if I need to select sample from north, 30% sample, that is 30 sample will be selected from north. If I need to select sample from south, 40% sample, let's say 40 sample will be selected from south. If I need to select sample from east, then 20 samples will be selected from east. And finally, if I need to select from west, then I will be selecting 10 samples. This way, based on the proportionate of population, I will be able to get a representation equally of each region. Yes or no? These regions are clustered, are basically stratified uh, according to their region. We have to take the population of 5,000 sample. This is a 5,000 population, and we have to take a sample of 100. So we don't take the 100 sample from here only or from here only. So we stratified it according to the population requirement. Is it clear? Sanya, sampling framing is nothing. If you have 100 population, so you are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just that. You're just doing a list of number to them. Okay, let's say there are basically, let's say Mr. A, Mr. B, C, D, like this. So Mr. A is 1, Mr. B is 2, Mr. C is 3. Okay, Sanya. So stratified sample clear na? Ashvi, which point? Which point, Ashvi? Proportionate, how do you calculate proportionate here? Basically, Ashvi, what I'm saying is, if I have, let's say, 10 pen, okay, 3 from, let's say, brand A, 4 from brand B, and let's say, how many? 7? 2 from brand C and 1 from brand D. So, and I have to take, no, this should be 100. 100, 30, 40, 20, 10. Now, if I need to basically, let's say, select 10 samples, what I would do? I will select 3 from A, 4, 2, 1. If you see, these are proportionate according to this. This is 30% of the total population, 40% of the total population. I'll do one question to basically help you understand this. Let's jump to the question. If it's still not clear, let's do one question. Yeah, yeah. This is the question of Ashvi. Understand. These are the number of customer in north, east, south, and west. The total number of customer is 3 lakh. Now tell me what would be the sample of north? How much sample I should take for 75%? Let's say we have north customer as 75. We have east customer as 35,000, 36,500. We have south customer as 90,000, and basically north, east, south, west. We have, sorry, 3 lakh. Now, what I will do, I need to select a sample of how much? I need to select a sample of 5,000. So in order to select 5,000, Ashvi, my question is, how many samples I should select here? How many samples I should select here? Should I select all these 5,000 from north, Ashvi? Should I select all these 5,000 sample from north? No. So what I would do, I would see what is this north, basically 75,000 to 3 lakh. What is the percentage here? So I will do 3 lakh, 75,000 divided by 3 lakh. Now, this would give me a percentage. This percentage I will multiply with 5,000, and this would basically give me the number of sample I should select from north. Similarly for east, similarly for south. Ultimately, this represents the 100%. So the percentage here will ultimately come out to be 100%. So the samples from each region will ultimately come out to be 5,000. This is simple maths. Correct, Ashmi? Okay, got it now? Now clear? So if you see how they have calculated it, they have basically said, okay, 75,000 divided by 3 lakh multiplied by 5,000 is 1250. So if we just divide, we'll use the calculator. 75 divided by 300 is basically 25%. So 25% of 5,000 would be 1250. And similarly, 3,6,500 divided by 3 lakh. This is basically 12.16%. So 12.16% is 608. So this is how they have done it. Okay, Ashwin? Got it? This was stratified sampling. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of stratified sampling? It's easy to select sample item from a sampling frame. First, sorry? These all are, oh, sorry, just stratified sampling. Samples are representative of all important groups because first of all, we have to group them. Method of sampling, basically stratified sampling includes population into strata or cluster, basically categorizing them. Random samples are then basically formed from each stratum or category. Okay, stratum or category basically means grouping. Samples are representative of all important groups, will have elements in the final sample. The same structure reflects the population of the same proportion. Individuals should be chosen from each stratum. Each stratum is represented by a random chosen sample and increased precision. Okay, because we are representing based on the population size for the sample size. Okay. Disadvantage, prior knowledge required for each item in the population. It's not easy. We have said, okay, we will select according to proportion. But what is the proportion that we have to define? Okay. How much in a particular region, a particular item is sitting? That is supposed to know. We can understand from the people point of view. But what about the, it is a non-object. How do we understand basically which object is sitting in which basically region? Time consuming to divide the population into strata. Basically group them together. It's a difficult task. Multi-stage sampling is the last sampling and it is basically done for how the surveys are done. Multi-stage sampling. Multi-stage sample. Basically, let's say there is a football team. There is a football stadium. In football stadium, there are lakhs of people sitting there. So how we decide that, okay, first of all, now take some couple of samples out of this all region now, that there are multiple regions, multiple basically wings. So out of this, first of all, let's take some random seeds. Random basically base. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have taken 4 random base. Now out of these 4 random base, let's say this is a 1 random base. So now let's see one random basically area here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's select this one. Let's select this one. Once I have selected, let's say this way, and I have selected this one. Now there are, let's say, 10 seats. So out of these 10 seats, let's now select 1, 2. Can you see the multiple stage sampling, how this is happening? That we are breaking down the larger population into smaller segments, and then smaller segment into another smaller segment, and then smaller segment to final samples. This process continues until final samples are selected. So let's say 10 seats. So out of 10 seats, I have selected 2 samples. So what I have done? So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There were 11 seats there. Sorry, this was 10 seats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 basically rows and 10, 11 base and basically 2 samples from each row. So this is how many samples I will get. I cannot basically check each and every row. I cannot check each and every way. I cannot check this entire population because it's a very, very large population. So what I will do, first of all, I'll take them into smaller group. Let's say I have broken them into the base of the seats. Okay. Now, once I have broken them, these are 11 basically base. I have further break them one single bay into 5 rows. Basically the way seat work. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then these 5 seats are done. And then from each seat, I have taken basically two samples for the 10. So now you can see 11 into 5 into 10, so into 2. This will basically give me the sample size. So 55 multiplied by 2. So I will select somewhat around 110 people as a sample. Did you get the idea how we are doing the multi-stage sampling? We are breaking down the population into smaller group and then breaking smaller group into further smaller groups until the sample is selected. Okay, this process can continue so large. Let's say talk about India from the India point of view. We break down the India into state, then states to regions, regions to colonies, or basically areas, and then areas to houses, and then basically flows. See how basically we break down this into the population. So it will be much complex. But again, the purpose is to select the rand samples. The problem with the why did we use multi-stage sampling? Because we cannot do the sample framing in larger population, numbering of people. Okay, that is why we do this multi-stage sampling. A probability sampling method which involves dividing the population into number of subpopulation and then selecting a small population of this subpopulation at a random. Thus, subpopulation is then divided further and then a smaller sample is again selected at random. The process is repeated as many times as necessary until the final sample is selected. Advantage, approximation to random sampling. This is just like random sampling, but in a multiple stage. Does not require sample frame because the main challenge with the random sampling is that we need to frame the samples. But right now we don't need it here. Suits very large population, let's say country level population, state level population, relatively cheap as samples may be collected quickly. Okay, disadvantage, it is not a true random because what we are doing, we are trying to reduce the sample size and we are selecting this by our own. The sample may be biased if only small number of regions are selected. Because you can see out of a 1 lakh people, I just selected only 110. This is not a true representation of this 1 lakh people. Okay. So this was your basically type of sampling. Another type of sampling is remaining, which is non-random sampling. And then we'll go into the bars and charts. So far, any doubt? Let me just quickly walk you through the essential reading. In essential reading, what you can see, they have given the example of random sampling. This is basically JSON, Brown, and S, and you can see they are doing the framing 0, 1, 2, 3. And then using this framing, they are selecting the random sample. This is stratified sampling, partnership, public company, private company, and then they are proportional. This is systematic sampling that we have to select 20 from a population of 100. So interval should be 800 divided by 20, it's 40. So 40 of interval. So let's say first item is selected, then after every first item, 40th number. Let's say 23rd is selected, 63rd, 103rd, and then multi-stage sampling. That groups are basically further broken down. Let's say 800 population, that 8 into 5 into 200, that is the number of people are there. Okay. This is the multi-stage sampling. These are just examples. Read them. Let me know if you get any doubt. Clear, everyone? Uh, please, don't ask me to repeat things. I can explain doubt, but repeating thing will be difficult. You can ask me Savrit later on after the class, or you can watch the recording again. Systematic sampling was simply that we were trying to select, let's say there is a population of 2000 and we have to select 20 samples. So for every 100 number, we will be selecting a random. Let's say first number was selected 43rd. So after 43rd, I'll select 143, 243, or 343 based on the interval. Interval will be decided based on the population size and the sample we are going to select. 2000 samples, basically 200, basically 2000 population, 20 samples, so 100 would be the interval. Okay. Now, non-random sampling, quota sampling and cluster sampling. See, you can see the word non-random. Here, you will be using your own bias. You will be doing survey based on your own assumption. It is non-random. It is quota or cluster. What is quota sampling? A method of sampling in which randomness is forfeited. No randomness. Okay, you select on your own. The interest of a cheapness and administrative simplicity in order to make things simple and basically less expensive, because this random process, all this thing will be much costlier than the quota sampling. Investigators are told to interview all the people they meet up to a certain quota. Let's say you have to, investigate the hospital. How do you go with the cluster sampling? This hospital is near us. Let's go and, check every patient in that hospital. And that way we will understand all the hospitals. This is called quota sampling. You are not gone to multiple hospitals. You just gone to one hospital and selected every person in that hospital. That is quota sampling. So in quota sampling, we investigate all the people they need up to a certain point. Okay, this method is mostly used by market researcher and involves stratifying the population, restricting the sample to fixed number in each strata. Okay, that let's say we have 5 hospitals, we will be just going into these 5 hospitals and not the entire city's hospitals. We'll understand basically data from these 5 hospitals. This way we will be able to save ourselves. Let's say it was a systematic approach. What we would have done, that we have gone to every hospital. Now we have selected, let's say, 5 or 10 people from the hospital, going to each hospital, basically placing employees there. This is a basically more expensive task than the quota sampling. This is cheap and administrative. Large samples can be studied. No sample frame required. Maybe only approach to use sometimes, because sometimes cost is very important, and yield sufficiently accurate information for the market. Though we understand this is a biased, but normally if I survey the hospital 1 or 2, I will get a rough idea, and that is what I'm trying to do here. If the accuracy is not very much required, basically not heavy accuracy required, then just to get an estimate, then it's a good idea. But disadvantage bias exists here. Okay, first come first basis is here, that whoever basically we select will be the first, basically the whoever we first interview, we will use their input. Not ultimately satisfactory if theoretically valid results required. If we want to basically accuracy, we want to improve the accuracy level, so in that case we have to do the random sampling using systematic. Cannot estimate the sampling error. How many errors we made? What is sampling error? That let's say one was anomaly. But out of 100, one was a dissatisfied customer, and we will only talk bad things about the company. So if we do this quota sampling, then those customer feedback would also come. Though they should be excluded, but these samples would also come, and we will get a basically errors rate. So here the data quality will be an issue here. Now, second, cluster sampling. This is finally the last part of sampling, and then we'll be basically moving to the graph. A random sampling method that involves selecting one definable subsection of the population as a sample. Basically, we are defining the subsection, just like stratifying. We have stratified the population, basically grouped them, and now we are selecting that group. Okay, let's categorize 10 groups. Out of that, one single group will be selected. That subsection taken to be representation of the whole population in question. But again, this is not the correct way. If we have defined a group and now we are basically, sampling that group, then we are supposed to sample other group as well. But in the cluster sampling, we are taking the entire cluster instead of, let's say we have divided 10 clusters. So we'll just take the one cluster and that entire cluster and forget about the rest of the clusters. No sampling frame required, good alternative to multi-stage sampling, quick and cheap to administer. Let's say there were multiple bays, multiple rows. So what we did, we selected one bay only and we did the entire bay. Okay, all the rows, all the seats. But we did not select the other bays, other rows, other seats. Okay, potential consideration for bias. So this was your basically sampling methods: quota, cluster as a non-random, and then systematic, stratified, and multi-stage. Do let me know in case of any question. Quota sampling. Quota sampling means that I am selecting people based on my assumption. Okay, there are 100 people, and out of 100 groups, and what I have done, I have selected 2 to 3 groups that are nearby based on my understanding. I'm not going and selecting all 100 groups. Let's say of all 100 groups, I'm not selecting each one proportionately. You guys are not helping me here. You guys are, asking me to repeat things. Very bad. Once you say you are clear, then you ask me again. Quota sampling. A method of sampling in which randomness is forfeited. We are not selecting people randomly. We have voluntarily, consciously selected groups. Okay, in the interest of cheapness and administrative simplicity. If I want to, let's say, survey Delhi school, what I will do, I will not go each and every school and select some couple of students. No, this should be a random systematic selection. But what I would do, I would go to one or two schools and select their students entirely. That is quota sampling. Is this clear? Those who were asking quota sampling. Okay. Cluster sampling. Cluster sampling is that there we basically divide the group into clusters. There are basically, let's say, there was this north, east, south cluster. Now these were stratified into north, east, south, west. What I do, I would not bother about other groups. I'll just select one. This is basically cluster. First of all, we divided into the cluster, and now we selected the entire cluster. Now we are saying if we have done the basically sampling of south, we are able to basically understand all other regions. That is cluster. Earlier example for quota was that out of 100 schools, we selected 3 schools by ourselves. We did not define them in cluster. We just selected 3 schools, and those 3 schools will represent the entire school. Okay. And just like this, here we defined them in the cluster, and then we selected one cluster and did the entire sampling. Is this clear about non-random sampling? No, Ashik, I cannot use Hindi. Ashik, what is the doubt in quota sampling? Can you tell me? You can type in Hindi. I will explain it in English. We have instruction not to use Hindi in the class. In quota sampling, what you are doing, Ashik, you are not dividing them into groups. There are, let's say, I'm just taking an example. I have to survey Delhi schools. Okay, I want to get a feedback about Delhi schools education. What I will do, if I use a quota sampling, I will select 2 to 3 schools myself. No random sampling, no checking. I'll say, okay, this school is good, this school reputation is good. I'll just go and do the audit of all the, all the sampling of that school students. And I will say this is a representation of all the schools. That is quota sampling, Ashik. Is this clear? Quota sampling, cluster sampling, guys, are we clear with this? What is quota? Quota is basically selecting or not using any randomness. Okay, using that one basically your own choice to decide, okay, there should be the sufficient sample. Hospital example and school example should be sufficient here. Cluster sample where we have divided them group. And then once we have divided the group, now we are selecting one single group. The difference between quota and cluster is division of group. Okay, creating a cluster. Now coming back to multi-stage, in multi-stage random sampling, what we were doing, we were breaking a very large population into subcategory, that subcategory into a further sample, that sample into further sample. So the smallest unit that we can, sample the entire population. We don't need the framing here. What we are doing in sampling, we are, trying to take randomness here. Okay, grouping the people into a very small person. If you compare it with quota, those people who are confused with the multi-stage sampling in the quota, they are thinking that here, they are confusing that randomness is in the multi-stage sampling. This is we are trying to do, random sampling. We are not doing it by our own choices. I can't use Hindi, Ritika. Now, tell me after this explanation, was it clear that in multi-stage sampling, you are using randomness? In quota sampling, you are using own discretion, not any randomness. In multi-stage sampling, you are broken down a very large population. In quota, if we are just basically selecting a sample of a larger population by our own decision. You should compare quota with the random sampling and not multi-stage sampling. I'm not sure why you are confusing with multi-stage sampling. Clear, guys? What is the doubt? If you are unclear, try to explain your doubt. Just saying doubt is there is not sufficient. I will be able to explain this more if you can explain in your words what is the doubt. Everyone here clear? Is there any confusion? Let me know what is the exact doubt, because you are saying it is not clear. Which part is not clear? Breaking down the population, which part? Students online, please confirm. Which part is not clear? Okay, Ritika, if you still get confused, you can ask me in the basically WhatsApp and I'll basically discuss with you separately if this is still unclear. Any student who still feels unclear, please let me know. And what is your query? Okay. Let's take a break. I think you need a break. Maybe that will help. Let's take a 5 to 10 minutes break and then we'll be back. Okay, we'll just see some pie graph charts and diagram and we'll wrap up this chapter. Okay. Hello. Please respond. Okay, let's take one question before we go. Which two of the following statement are true? Just one question. Don't worry, you those who don't want, they can take. Yes, Ankit, anything? Okay. If a sample is selected using a random sample, it will be free from bias. If a sample frame is number list of all items in a sample. Multi-stage sampling is a non-random sampling method. In quota sampling, investigators are told to interview all people they meet up to a certain quota. Okay. Which two statements are true? First and fourth. Were you able to identify the differences here? Hmm. And here, what is the difference? The problem is this statement of all item in a sample. Sample framing is for all item in a population. Yes, right, Shraddha. Okay. Random sample is free from bias and quota sampling, we basically interview all the people. Okay. In this case, sampling frame is number list for all item in a population, like because this is the problem of stratified and the systematic, that we cannot make the sampling list, the random sampling, we cannot make the list for entire population for a very large size, and multi-stage is random. Clear now, everyone? Those who write B and D, I'm not sure why did you write B and D. This is a basically population. This was a trick here. I have given the answer now. Please don't write C and B. C and B are incorrect answers. Okay, read this and let's take a break. Are we back? Guys, are we back? So before we go further, let's summarize this, because I know students are not feeling comfortable and I'm not feeling comfortable before going ahead. Okay, let's do a summary. Maybe this summary will help you. First of all, random sampling. What we do in random sampling? We basically select a sample. We select a random sample. Basically, there is no bias. Okay, no bias. You do not select yourself. Do not select yourself. Okay, every item in the population has equal chance of it being selected. Equal chance. Okay, again, then there are disadvantages, can't apply for the basically larger population, that you need a sample framing. Okay, sample framing. This is random sampling. Then we go to a systematic sampling. What is systematic sampling? That we will select first number will be random. Okay, just like any number. Then there will be intervals. There will be intervals. These intervals will be selected based on the population, total population, divided by sample required. Divided by sample required. If we have 1000 population and we need 20 samples, so we will have a basically interval of 50 interval. What it means, that first sample selected, let's say 23rd, then after that second sample will be 73rd, and then basically it will be 123rd, and then it will be 173rd. This is how this will go, 50 interval, until we select the 20 samples. Okay, the idea is that we will be selecting it randomly, but in a systematic approach. This way we will be covering the larger population. But again, the problem is basically sample framing. We have to have the access the entire population. Then we had the stratified. Okay. Understand, so far we haven't created a group. We were using the entire population. And these population were lower, smaller size population. Because in systematic or random sampling, we cannot access the entire population. Now stratified. What we did in the stratified? In stratified, we said, let's say, let's group them. Let's group them or stratified them. Okay, stratum. These are English words, so please use, try to Google them. Basically, it will mean same that we group them. We combine them together. So north, east, west, south. Let's say this is 1000, this is 2000, this is 3000, and this is how much? 5, 6, and this is, let's say, 4000. So this way it will make out 10,000. Now, if we have to select, let's say 50 sample, so we will proportionate. We will proportionate based on the percentage. 1000 is 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. So accordingly, we will select samples. This way, because we have grouped them, we will be able to get a better representation of each group. Okay, here we were ignoring in random and sampling that they can be groups, and basically taking samples within a group will not be helpful. Okay, so it's much better that we take the equal proportion of the group and then accordingly we do the sample. This was basically the sampling for this was all random sampling. One more example was multi-stage. In multi-stage, what we did again, randomness was there. Randomness there was there. We were not choosing ourselves. Okay, it's just that we were breaking it down into smaller groups. Smaller group. Okay. If I wanted to select, let's say, a stadium of 1 lakh, then 1 lakh I have first divided into, let's say, 10 groups, and then 10 groups were further broken down, let's say 10 days, and then I basically broken down into 5 rows, and then I basically broken down into 10 seats. So this will create this entire population. And now what I will do, I will select 2 samples. So 10 rows, 5 basically, 10 rows, 5 basically, sorry, 10 base, 5 rows, and 2 sample from each basically row. So in this case, how will I create this sample? 10 into 5 into 2. Okay, this is your multi-stage sampling. You cannot, this is for very, very large population, where you cannot assign the number to, population. Sample framing is not possible. So you just break it down. This is another way of random sampling. Okay, biasness is still there. You are not selecting it. Every item has an equal chance of getting selected. The base you're selecting is not your choice. You are doing it randomly. Okay. Now the second part, which was basically non-random. In non-random, basically we had quasi. In quasi, let's say there is a population of 100. Now in 100, we select. This is not random. We are selecting. We are the one who's choosing. So randomness gets finished here. Let's say there are 100 schools. We select the top 2 schools ourselves. There was no randomness here. So this is quasi. This is not random sampling. Okay. Second, if let's say this is basically the quasi and the second one was cluster. What we are doing in cluster, we are now grouping. We are now grouping north, east, south, west. Now, as per the original, basically the stratified, we were selecting randomly and we were basically trying to provide the equal representation of all groups. Here in the cluster, we will just select the cluster. The choice will be ours and we will select the cluster entirely. Now tell me, where is the confusion? I hope now this is much summarized. This is much clearer. Clear? Non-random, quota or quasi, both, Tavisha. Okay. Now, Please, don't take it otherwise. The purpose is to make your query solve. I'm not still getting, if in case you're confused, where is your query? Okay. Try to, articulate your no random is quota, na sir. Non-random is quota. Sorry. I have written it correctly. Sorry, you guys are saying it. Quota and cluster. Yeah, it was just basically in the flow. I was in the flow. But now I hope this is clear. Now, when we are presenting data, understand, we can present data in reports. Okay. Reports basically, the purpose of report is to initiate an action or basically reader. Reports can be detailed descriptive reports. Let's say if you remember, I show you the syllabus document that detailed, I had a lot of details, right? The decision or action might be the following time. It can be controlling decision, it can be planning decision. Based on the syllabus you see in your, syllabus content, you will basically design, or you will take any controlling action. That if you have so much, basically syllabus, how will you complete the syllabus in each section? That will be part of planning, and make sure that you meet your deadline. That will be part of control. Okay, reports can be routine, let's say budgetary control report, which we will learn basically in chapter number 3, that how we will create a budget report. What is our sale target, whether we achieve those sale target, a routine monthly sale target report, sales report, progress report. Let's say we are in construction company, we are constructing a home. So what is the percentage we have, completed? So progress report on that. Non-routine, non-routine or ad hoc, non-routine or ad hoc. Market research report or report on proposed basis. There will be information, it can be narrative, it can be analyzing based on graphs, charts, basically bar graphs. So now this section will be covering the report by basically how do we visualize the report. This is basically, talking about a report. Formal report is made, there should be a title, terms of reference, procedure, method used, findings, conclusion, recommendation. This is just a format of a formal report, that whenever you see a formal report, it will have a title. Let's say auditor's report. Auditor's report, this is an independent auditor's report. Basically, it is related to shareholder. We are providing this report for the purpose of direct, basically to the shareholder, and we are checking the audit procedures. These are finding that the audit of the company was done and the company's financial statement are perfect or not. Okay. And recommendation, let's say a survey report, that they have basically, the title will be the survey report on, let's say, a construction site. Basically introduction, that what they are doing there, they are doing the survey of a site. Basically procedure is basically that how do they value this site, or how do they, measure whether the site is okay or not, what are their findings and their conclusion, and finally providing a recommendation. This is a normal formal report you will see, basically mostly common. In an informal report will be basically, over the text. Let's say you are asking me basically, a question, I'm giving you an answer, and then after an exam I ask you a report about your feedback. So you are giving this in the text format as per your convenience, not following any order. That is an informal report. Now, coming to the most important part of this chapter, which is present data. And this data visualization I have basically, emphasized in my previous lectures, or basically my BT and FA, that data visualization is one of the key skills. Let's say Power BI, Excel, Word, PowerPoint presentation. You can see I do basically, I do prepare my notes in PowerPoint presentation, but this is just for writing down. This is not a presentation. The presentation that I did in the first class, basically, making you giving you the orientation, that was the presentation, right? If I just show you the orientation that we did, this was a presentation. Let's say, welcome to ACCA. If you remember, we did this in the class now, that I introduced you to the orientation. This was a presentation. So let's say the title, introduction, basically what we are doing, what is the content. So this was just a presentation. So how do you present your data? For this, you need to have this knowledge of these software, because we are right now using technology. Earlier, there used to be, writing of this report. Now we are supposed to basically use these softwares. PowerPoint, also basically Microsoft Office. You have to have a good understanding of Microsoft Office. Not at right now. Right now, we will only learn spreadsheet, only Excel. But and that is to a limited extent. But from your skill level, at your skill level, when you will be looking for jobs, Microsoft Office, Power BI, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, all these three documents. Power BI, Power Query, a must-have tools to understand Power BI, Power Query, and SQL if you can. SQL is an additional which gives you an additional advantage. So these are the must-have learn softwares which you should do. Company software specific, I will not say don't learn any company specific software, because which company you will go, what software they will use, you'll never know. Sometimes you, let's say, learn a software company, sometimes decommission those softwares. So these are some tools that will help you in power presentation and visualization. In the class today, we will be trying to see some visualization. Okay, otherwise in the next class. So what are the data visualization? A dashboard, a line chart, a mapping chart, or bar and pie chart. And we will be looking at all these charts. Don't worry, we'll not just cover them in theory. I'll try to basically give the understanding of a dashboard. Dashboard won't be possible, so let me show you some dashboard online. Dashboard. Dashboard images. Yeah. Let me share. Hmm? No, exam, no, not an exam. This is just for your understanding. You can see this is a dashboard I have opened. This is a market research. This is showing some, some graphs, some, charts that there is basically plus minus, there are days, and then you can see that there is a movement of prices. There is a basically a pie chart given on the right side, basically representing 15% average, representing different number. Let's say new customer, sales, refund. Then there is a bar chart given in the bottom. Then there are basically items. Let's say HTC Mobile, Samsung Mobile, giving a description. So this is a dashboard, basically giving you a summarized information about the quantity, let's say sold. The basically giving you a line chart. So this is a dashboard giving you a summary of a very detailed report. This can be discussed in the report in very detail, but this can also be summarized in a dashboard. Okay, this is something you will be able to do yourself once you learn the Power BI. Okay, in Power BI, or let's say you get expert in Excel. Now, in Excel also you can do this. This is basically a representation of report. There are many online tutorials. If I show you, let's say if I show you dashboard. So in YouTube, you can see there are many online tutorials. Let's say if I just open this, I'll just show how dashboard looks like. I'll not go into details right now. Okay. Let's say if I just go here, you can see this person is making this dashboard. Screen is visible now, everyone?
This dashboard is definitely becoming a lot more interactive. Look exactly how you want it to look.
So this person is basically customizing their dashboard. They are basically showing periods, or not yet. They are showing graphs, pie graphs. What these graphs are, we will understand them one by one, but that is what you can do. And you can see this person is doing this in the Excel. So if you learn this software technique, you will also be able to present this data. And as a employer, I would definitely want whether you have these skills or not, because that way I can ask you to work on the data. That will basically reduce my task of training to you. So definitely it gives you an advantage. So this is dashboard basically giving you some type of information. I hope this is clear. Going on internet is always risky. Everyone, about the dashboard. Dashboard here, this provide a relevant summary and are often used to provide 4 or 5 relevant drivers that give an overview of business area. Let's say what is the growth rate, key performance indicator basically. What is the growth rate? What is the profitability level? What is the previous year comparison, budget versus actual, line chart, bar graph? We will see this. Okay. So as in we will be able to see BSc and SC market. Very good, Ritika. Yes. In BSc SC market, let's say if I just go on to BSc and SC market, let's say on SC. Yeah, it's again a so the screen that is visible. This is the NSC side. It is not visible. Yeah, it's visible. Now I hope this screen is visible. You are able to see this NSC side. You can see they have basically indicated some nifty name indicator. They are also showing you graph. They are showing you basically the data about what is advanced decline. There is an ad going on. Please ignore this. And then they are basically giving you the top gainers, top losers. This is also a dashboard, but it is of NSE. NSE controls this dashboard. You know what? If you understand the software, not only software, just Power BI or Excel, you can create a similar dashboard at your place according to you. You can also go. This is our website basically features, but the features that are here, prices going up, basically showing visual representation, giving you a very precise summary, asking you for anything you want. This is just a similar function of a dashboard. Okay, a very similar function. I hope you get it now. Candle fundamentals. I know because you understand all this. Good. Coming back now. Line chart, mapping chart, bar or pie chart. Okay, let's understand. Tables. Let me open the Excel. Let's say if I say profitability. Let me know if Excel is visible to you guys. This Excel is visible to you. Visible? Yes. Let's say if I talk about profitability, this is product A, product A, product B. This is year 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. Okay, let's make this 80,000, 8,000, 6,000, 4,000, 12,000, and 13. In this case, let's make it 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, oh sorry, 10,000, 11,000, and 15,000. Now what I will do, this is just basically showing you these are just headings. Please don't get hanged. How will I show? This is not working. No, this is too slow. I have not given any function here. This is one of the basic functions I could give. This is such a basic function, it's taking so much time. How will I teach in the class? Just a second now. No, finally. I'm not sure if I give this the command of for the graphs and table, whether it will be able to handle. So this is a profitability table. This is years. This is product. Year is on the right hand side. Product is on the below side. So what I'll do, I'll just create a table. How do I create a table? I just say years, and I just say, oh sorry, this is basically products. And I just say yes. No. Yes. 24, 25, 26. This is similar table. No. Yes, okay. One, product A, product B. This is yours, and these are ये basically क्या हो गया? You can see in this case, insert a table. That yes. You can see what is happening here. I have created here product A, product B. This is a table. You can see that the product A has a profitability of 8,000, 6,000, 4,000, 12,000, 13,000. Product B has a profitability of this. These are the year in which their profitability has increased. So in a table, you can see there are some columns and some are rows. Column are representing the product, rows are representing the profit of each year. Okay. Column C is representing the profitability of product A. Column D is representing the profitability of product B. Row number 2, row number 3, row number 4, row number 5, row number 6 are representing the year of their profit. Okay. So what happens in a table? Table is a matrix. Matrix of what? Rows and columns. That's why it's called matrix of rows and column. With rows and column being titled, it is a two-dimensional, so shows a two variable. So in a table, you will always see two variables. One is basically a product, one is a basically variable. Because matrix can have only two variable and it is a 2D form. So is this point of clear table that how table is shown? Everyone, table has rows, basically years in this case, and columns, basically the product. Okay, this will have basically based on a matrix because matrix has two variables. One is basically in this case is product, one is basically year, and both are showing the profitability. Okay, how can we read this? That if I want to see the product A profitability of 2026, we can see this is earning 4,000. If I want to see product D profitability of 2024, it is earning 6,000. If I want to see the profitability of 2025 both product, I just need to total them. Sorry, not this. Yeah. So I just need to total them, and now you can see the profitability, total profit. You can see 2024 total profit was 14,000. 2020 basically 5 total profitability is 14. Yeah, 14. Okay, this is 14. Okay, surprisingly, let's change this figure to something. Let's say this is 7, 9. Yeah, and this is 8. Okay, so now you can see profitability. Also, if I want to see the total profitability of this and this, oh, surprisingly, their profitability is same. No, 50. Now you can see the profitability is of this product and profitability, total profitability of product A and total product profitability of product B. So I hope now you can see how we can use a table in a matrix form. Clear? Now, chart. Basically, chart is a more visualized way of representing them. That what is the data intended to present and who is we are going to represent. We just saw in NSC BSc that okay, the year, let's say in NSC BSc chart, NSC BSc chart. I think I have to, start it or cover it in the next. The system is running super slow, right? I'm not like I imagine a different way of representing. The way it's working is not. Now you can see this is a chart. What this chart is indicating. If I just go back, can I select any measure? It will screen. Working really terribly right now. Okay. Let's do one thing. Try read one this time. In next class, we'll cover it. Okay. I'm not able to, operate the system right now. It's really terrible, right? Okay. It shouldn't happen like this. I'll try next time that doesn't happen. We'll cover the rest of the topic in the next class. Okay. In the bar and chat. And I can see you guys are right now packed. So we'll cover this in the next class. It's a very interesting thing, huh? So please don't miss the next class. So any doubt so far, do let me know. We'll cover everything in the next class. Yeah, sure. Vani, we share these notes. Notes are only this handwritten notes. I'm not sure whether you need them, but I'll share them. You can watch the recorded lecture by Thursday. Just check with VG team, but by Thursday you should be able to basically get the recorded lectures. Okay. System also class is going to over. Didn't get you there, Ritika. Acha, system is over and classes. No worries. We'll cover this in the next class, and I'll try to make sure that the system works. No, I'm just teaching it from the basically BPP book, Vani this time. I'm not teaching it from the notes. Okay, I have basically two sources. One is ACCA Study Hub. Second is basically the BPP book. No, Diksha. The classes are only in English. We have specific instruction. Last time I used Hindi in BT lecture, and I was told not to use Hindi lecture at all. Bye bye, Ritika. Okay. So Vani, you will be getting these handwritten notes and not any specific notes. If you want to get a free available sources, I would definitely recommend use the study hub. And let me know if you get any doubt anywhere. Okay, Vani? Because there will be so many numerics going on. This is just starting chapters. Don't worry. The moment we start costing and everything, now we will be only discussing in numerics. Okay, so it's like financial accounting. That's why I decided not to continue with the notes, because in financial accounting I don't go with the written notes. I only go with the Excel. I will be sharing you with the all the questions and question practice in the Excel. Okay, yeah, class is over, guys. Okay, thank you everyone for attending today's class, and see you next week. Any question, any confusion, do let me know. Okay, bye bye.